But guys, this is funny right here. Michael Jackson, the king of pop. Now, of course, he lived in the People's Republic of California. But Michael Jackson is not even from California. He's from Indiana, from Gary, Indiana. Now, his ex-wife, who is the mother of the two kids, I think she's from California. I really don't know. Debbie Rowe, do you know Rhodes? I don't know where she's from.
No, I don't have any idea. Mm-mm.
But that's besides the point, man. I mean, this whole reparations thing. Check this out, man. Even in this Fox News article is pretty funny. Check this out. California reparations scam. Michael Jackson's kids will get payouts. California reparations con game is like a Nigerian prince email scam.
Wow.
Now we know. Now, if you're not familiar with the Nigerian scam, I've gotten those before. And they want you to I can't remember how exactly those Nigerian scams work. I think they wanted you to provide your bank account or something like that, and they would send you direct deposit money or something like that.
Yeah. I've gotten them too. It's like I'm here in the country and I cannot receive my money somehow. I'm going to be awarded this much money if you agree to give me your banking information so my money can be put in your account. I'll let you have so much percentage of it or something like that. And it's $22 million,
right.
To get the money in the account, and, it's all scam. I want to know, who's the a-hole that actually falls for that? Who are you? Why?
I think the vast majority of people that were falling for the Nigerian email scams are elderly people.
It had to be. I mean, yeah. It had to be, because I just cannot imagine. And those have been around since the invention of the internet, I think.
Yeah,
a long time.
I remember I used to get those.
Years.
I used to get those emails in the early 2000s. Yeah. I would actually get those emails. I never fell for them.
I don't get them now. Yeah,
I don't get them either now. I don't get them either. Sometimes I get these PayPal phishing scams or an Amazon scam, and it's easy to tell. All you got to do is look at the email address that it's coming from, and it's a bunch of letters and stuff. Makes no sense. But anyway, to get back on track here, nobody's going to get a dime. Nobody's going to get a dime. Check this out. It says right here that the math. Now, before I get to the math, look at this paragraph right here. The Reparations Task Force has already pledged that nearly 80% of California's 2.6 million black residents will be granted reparations. Why just 80%? How did they even come up with that? That's not even 100%. So if you give 80% of the black people money, the other 20% are going to be outraged.
Okay, let me ask you a question, because this in itself is starting to sound racist. How do you determine the percentage there exactly?
I don't know.
I'd love to know. Inquiring minds want to know. When you send out the letter, I want us to be able to actually see it so we can read it. What does that letter say when it says, "You ain't black enough"?
Exactly. Now, California never had slavery, but still the task force is talking about the effects of slavery in a state that never had slavery. Now, look at this here. This is where it makes no sense. First, the math simply doesn't work. Consider if all the eligible blacks in California were merely given $1,000 in reparations, the cost in California would exceed $2 billion.
Wow.
But that compensation would in no way equal the staggering claims made by the radical alarmists that push for reparations. $1,000 would be a penance of the injuries that they claim that blacks have faced in California. Using questionable calculations, that wouldn't get a passing grade in junior high. The task force has estimated that the compounded injury to blacks that have lived their entire lives in California would equal $100,000 for every year of their residency in the state. Consider for just 1 year of reparations using the same measure, the state would be on the hook for $200 billion out of $300 billion state budget as of 2022. I said this before. They don't have the money for this. So for Gavin Newsom to even make up this task force, and the task force comes up with like 1.2 million for every black person, this was ridiculous. Now, look here. It says, second, who should receive payments? Per the decision of the task force, only blacks who are descendants of slavery are eligible. Persons born outside the U.S. aren't. But you're talking about California paying reparations and directly tied to slavery, but the state never had slavery.
That's just what I was about to say. I was like, I don't think it actually existed in California, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Wow.
But here's where we actually get into Michael Jackson's kids. Check this out. But should all others be eligible? What about Michael Jackson's kids? Should his oldest son, Michael Prince Joseph Jackson Jr., receive a payment? Using the online calculator set up by the reparations task force, he be eligible for a $500,000 payout. This despite there being no evidence that he has ever faced discrimination because he is the son of a black man. And the same is true for his siblings. Yet the task force would also award the three more than a cool million. In fact, the task force hasn't set up any criteria other than race for eligibility. Has, in fact, every black descendant of slavery suffered injury? The task force says yes, but they present no evidence to prove their claim. So just by being black here, that's the criteria. Okay? Descendants of slavery. Now, Michael Jackson, he's black. Chances are he was probably descended from slavery. Don't know that for 100%. True, but more, I would say it's probably a good 99% chance his ancestors were slaves, right, Rhodes?
Yeah.
Right? About 99%.
Correct.
Now, his kids here, his white kids, are they really descended from slaves?
Is that his kids?
Yeah.
That's his kids.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, there's a lot of speculation.
I hadn't seen them in a long time since they were little.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Prince, and this is Paris on the right. Now, he has a third kid also. The mother is different. Actually, nobody knows who the mother is, to tell you the truth. But we know that they are the kids of Debbie Rowe. But there's been a whole bunch of questions. Is Michael Jackson really the father? I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just being real. I'm not saying that Michael Jackson wasn't a good father to these kids. But look at this. I don't see any resemblance to Michael Jackson whatsoever.
Okay, so in
Zero.
other words, you're saying what I'm thinking, I think.
A lot of people have been thinking this.
Because...
And I ain't trying to disrespect them.
No, I'm not either. I took one look at him. I was like, I kind of scratching the top of my head. I'm like, I'm not going Joe Biden here. I know, but are we? Is this Blackish? Is that where we're going? Because I get where you're going. I understand what you're trying to say.
Because if you actually look at Michael Jackson's third kid, Blanket.
What the
Blanket actually looks like he's biracial.
Yeah.
So chances are Blanket is probably actually Michael Jackson's biological kid. But it's going to be hard to sell me that Prince and Paris are the biological kids of Michael Jackson and that they should get reparations.
I did not know, when we first saw this picture, I did not know that his potential daddydom was in question here.
What happened?
But his fatherdom, in other words, was
You
in
had, you
question.
had clipped out, man. You had clipped out. We kind of missed what you said.
Well, in other words, when you brought the picture up, I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know his fatherdom was at question. But it certainly now makes a lot more sense after my first reaction from seeing his kids. I was like, what the hell am I missing here?
Well, one of the reasons why you never really saw them when Michael Jackson was alive, I got to give him credit on this. He kept them out of the media. If they were going out, Michael Jackson used to actually cover his kids so the media would never see them. And when Michael Jackson died, the first time I ever saw their faces was at his funeral. I had never seen his kids' faces before. He kept them away from the media. But still, in saying that, I'm not sure that these are actually his biological kids. A lot of people have been thinking that for a very, very long time. They got his name, and obviously, I'm pretty sure that they face no discrimination at all. I mean, this is Michael Jackson we're talking about.
Right, absolutely. It's the whole thing is ridiculous, and I don't know. Let me ask you a question. Let's say the federal government tried to pass a reparations act.
Okay.
And let's say they did pass it. We know how people feel about their money, right?
Yes.
So let's say you're Asian, you're Mexican, you're white. Insert any number of race or ethnicities you could possibly be. Let's say you're everybody except a black person. How much turmoil and drama would that start across the country? When people would be faced with that coming out of a paycheck.
Here's the problem, though, Rhodes. Here's the problem, though. If you're going to give black people reparations, then some black people today should be paying reparations because their black ancestors owned slaves. Then also, I believe you should also pay reparations to the Irish people here.
Well, I was going to say, I'm of Irish descent. Do I get a check? Because I heard the Irish was slaves too. I mean, that was a thing.
I mean, they were really discriminated against. Really? All you got to do. I know this is a fictional movie, but it's based in reality. Far and Away with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
They treated the Irish terrible in that movie. I mean, there were people saying, I remember when Tom Cruise in that movie, remember he had lost that fight, they kicked him out. And people around New York saying, we don't serve Irish. And that's the reality of Irish people. Actually, I know a guy in college of Irish descent. He used to say so. He's a white guy. He used to say something that was it was a comedy skit. It was so funny though, man. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was really not much of a difference of Irish and black, way back in the day. He used to say, well, say it once, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. Because of the discrimination of Irish people and black people. Even though, there was Irish slave owners too as well.
Well, I can tell you, I've seen online, like especially on Twitter prior Elon, but I have seen blacks and Irish feuding on Twitter because the blacks would not acknowledge to the Irish that the Irish were ever slaves. I mean, blacks were literally like, we don't give a shit. You didn't go through the same thing. It's not the same. And it's like, but it is the same? I mean, it is? I don't understand. Why are we picking and choosing our slavery here?
If we want to get down to it, who should actually be paying reparations for black slaves? You need to go over there to Nigeria, Ghana, and those countries over there, because they were the ones that were actually capturing the slaves and taking them to the ports.
Right.
They're the ones that should actually be paying. And by the way, the United States inherited slavery from Great Britain.
Right.
The United States, I mean, you always hear, what, the 1619 Project, right? You hear about them.
Yeah.
The United States only had slavery from 1783, because that's when we became the United States, 1783 to 1865. Like 80 years. That's it. The vast majority of the Americans' history, not including the United States, was under British control. And then after that, if you're going to do reparations, make sure that the Native Americans actually pay their part of reparations, because they actually had slavery after the 13th Amendment in December 1865. The U.S. government actually had to go to them and negotiate because they didn't want to give up their slaves. Yeah. They don't teach you that in school, but it's real.
Native Americans haven't given up enough. I mean, we're going to rob from them now again. Gotcha.
Yep. But
Wow.
it took the government to actually end slavery with Native Americans. They didn't want to give up their black slaves, and that's reality. So, but Prince and
Here's
Harry-
the thing. Here's the thing. Nobody living right now ever had a single slave.
Yep, exactly.
You know, I mean, I'm sure they may be some other countries right now. I mean, you could certainly take a look at what.
They still got slavery over there in Africa right now.
Well, China's got the Uyghur Muslims locked up right now.
Central
You know?
America still has underground slavery.
But the point
see-
is, in the United States, that's not a thing. It's not.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
you
I
know.
mean, but you still have slavery going on in other countries, and it's not like the people in the cotton fields anymore. What they're doing is human trafficking slavery. That is the main thing going on right now. And those people, guess what? They're down there at the southern border. Down there at the southern border. Yeah. But I think that's all I got to say about that.